So another short video on some continued mods and upgrades I've done to the 890R. As you can see, my Samco silicone hoses showed up, and soon after the proper hose clamps so it doesn't cut into the silicone hose. And I sort of combined this with the installation of the Woodcraft frame sliders. These require removing this hose anyway, so it made sense to drain the coolant, remove the stock hoses, mount this, put on the new hoses, refill with the coolant, yada yada yada. Couple of things, and I hope they'll make it right. These look like the correct bolts, but they're not. Woodcraft sent me the right length of bolts, but it's actually a coarse thread, M10 by 1.5, that goes into the cylinder, and they sent 4 beautiful fine thread bolts. So luckily I had some coarse thread ones lying around. They are threaded all the way up to the Allen head, so it's not ideal. So I've emailed Eric Wood at Woodcraft. They seem to be a good company. I'm sure he'll straighten it out and send me the proper bolts. Hopefully it's not an assembly line problem where everyone who's ordered this kit for their 790 or their 890 is getting the wrong bolts. But this will work for now, but it's just one of those things where, you know, none of these parts are cheap. You spend extra to get proper stuff, and you want to make sure that you've got the right hardware to work with it. So anyway, with this side I did move these 2 wires that connect to the O2 sensors and the exhaust. There's a clip that holds it to the frame. I had to remove that and just reroute it slightly. The other side is okay. Another little note, when it comes to draining the coolant, this is the cool drain bolt, and I thought I had some extra crusher washers lying around because they're pretty universal. They're for a 6mm bolt, but I didn't, so I thought, oh, I'll try it. I bet it's only been taken on and off once. I bet it'll work, so I went and refilled it, fired it up, and I've learned from my dad, who was an aircraft mechanic, fluid comes out of things where it's not supposed to in different ways. So if it's just noticeable, then it's sweating. So this was sweating. You'd wipe your finger underneath there, and there'd be a little bit of fluid. If it's starting to run down, then it's weeping. And if it's gushing out, then it's leaking. So sweating, weeping, and leaking. Luckily it wasn't leaking or weeping, it was just sweating. Anyway, went to the local Kawasaki dealership. They were the closest, and they've been around the longest, and I thought if I was a betting man, would be most likely to have some of the stuff lying around, and sure enough, got 5 of these. Not that I want to drain the coolant 5 times, but it's good to have extras. Worked perfectly, technically a Kawasaki part. Didn't charge me nickel. So despite the fact that I'm not riding green bikes anymore, I'm riding orange bikes. Trans-Canada Motorsport in Brandon, Manitoba, Canada takes care of its customers. So anyway, props to them, because they could have told me to go take a hike or charged me a buck a washer, and they didn't. And of course used a bit of pipe dope as well on the threads. The manual does call for a Loctite 432 or something like that, but anyway, I used I think it's a Loctite product, but I've known it as pipe dope, using on oil fittings or water fittings, and it's watertight. So yeah, a bit more bling and a bit more protection for the bike before I take it out to the track. According to UPS, the exhaust system should be here this week. Might get the rad guard in before the track day weekend, but I guess in terms of the got to put them on right away in my mind parts, they're all showing up and getting here. Put about 450 kilometers on the bike yesterday. Went for a ride down south of Manitoba to visit a buddy of mine, and interesting ride back. Came across some construction, had to ride it on gravel and oiled gravel. Obviously I took it pretty slow, kept it upright. This hasn't been moved. This tells you the type of I don't know, call it suspension or braking, but you know, the roads were pretty rough, so maybe with a bit of extra braking as well. But anyway, it's surprising to see a fork compression elastic near down to the bottom or totally bottomed out, but tells you the type of rough roads I was riding on, and some quick braking to avoid potholes. But that's the province that I live in. So anyway, that's the update for now, and more to come soon.